Since this is the first video of the year, I really want to talk about all the amazing books that I read in 2023. Hello, hi, namaste. Welcome back. I read about 74 books. That's right, 74 books. So I kind of surpassed myself the last year. I actually had a target of achieving about 90 books, but I couldn't make it. I feel 74 also is not a bad number, but I really did cheat a little bit there. So during the end of the year, by the end of the year, there were, a lot of books that I wanted to read. I hadn't read, and I was really still far from achieving my goal. So I had to sneak in a few short stories so that I could make up with the number. A lot of different genres that I explored, a lot of new authors that I tried last year, and a few of them were really promising. And some of these books were like absolutely amazing. I mean, they just straight away hit my favorites shelf. And one more big change in the last year in my reading pattern was that I tried to include a lot of non-fiction, which if you probably follow my if you follow my channel, you probably already know that I do not read non-fiction a lot. But I've started doing that because I've realized that somewhere or the other, the gems, the wisdom that we gain from non-fiction books, whether that's biographies, whether that's self-help, those tend to come handy at some or the other point in life. Talking about the best books that are read in 2023, there's about 8 or 9 books. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's 11 books that I have handpicked, which I felt were some of the best titles I read in 2023, and these kind of stayed with me. So I'm going to talk about these 11 titles, and all of these are either 4 stars or 5, stars for me. The first book we have on the list is Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. This is a cute little tale. It's the tale of Toru and Naoko. And Toru is a young boy. He is in college and he lives in Tokyo. And he's in love with Naoko, who's a cute little girl. And they have this common friend whose name I cannot remember, but somebody who Naoko is dating, and he dies tragically. So this common friend dies tragically, and how it's kind of affected both of their lives, and what happens, whether they're together or whether they're not, and how they face the time after, and so on and so forth. So this is the story of Toru. This also happens to be Haruki Murakami's first book, and it's got like a very close glimpses of his own life, and that's something the author has said himself. So I read this book because Murakami is one of my favorite authors. Next up, guys, on this list is The Lover Boy of Bahar, which is written by Rahul Pandita. Now, I happened to meet Rahul Pandita in 2021 when I visited the Jaipur Literature Festival, and over there somebody brought up his book The Lover Boy of Bahar, and I was unaware of the book until that time. Of course, I read Our Moon Has Blood Clots, which was his own biography on the Kashmir genocide. But this book was something that I had not heard of. Now, the topic immediately caught my attention because it was an investigation. It was on the investigation that followed the Pulwama attacks that happened in 2019, in which around 40 Indian soldiers were dead, and post which some surgical strikes happened, and all of those things in Pakistan on terrorist groups. Well, we remember those attacks very well, and it just felt important to read this book. So I read this book, and it sheds light on the mastermind behind these attacks. It also covers a lot of ground on how the whole operation was set in place. I was amazed at the details that are captured in this book. Next one is My Evil Mother, written by Margaret Atwood. Now, who doesn't know Margaret Atwood? She is the writer of The Handmaid's Tale. This is a short story. It's only about 30 pages. My Evil Mother is the story of a young girl who kind of recounts her life with her mother, who was infamously called the witch by the community at that time where this little young girl used to live. Now, she recounts all the little things that her mother would do for her, and what was her own experience. And eventually, as she grows up, she starts to question everything that she's experienced, being in the shadows of her mother. And she starts to think whether all those accusations and all those allegations and all those um, gossips that would go around when she was a young girl about her mother being a witch, if those were true. This book kind of ends on a cliffhanger, leaving the reader to think if the grown-up girl herself is just like her mother or not. So, story as such is quite interesting, and I felt it was quite unique in the way it was approached as well. Firoz Elchidana is a priest's son in the Parsi community, so obviously this is a revered family, and he happens to fall in love with Sepida, who is the daughter of a corpse bearer. Now, this happens to be the lowest rung in the Parsi community. So, can you imagine what the fate of these two people can be? This is the story of Corpse Bearer, a novel written by Cyrus Mistry, who is also the brother of the famous Indian author Rohinton Mistry. Not many of us know about Cyrus Mistry, but this book is a masterpiece. It's a novel on the existing conditions in which the corpse bearers of the Parsi community live. By choosing this one particular couple and this one particular story, Cyrus Mistry has tried to shed light on the perils and plight of this particular community in the society. This is the must-read, guys. It opens your eyes to a lot of things that's happening in the society which you are not aware of. This again was a 5-star read for me. It's a story that will never ever leave your mind. If possible, try and get your hands on it right away. In 2023, I found a gem of a novel, which was A Room in the Attic by Lewis Douglas. Again, a new author that I read, and I kind of regretted not reading her before, because this book is just mind-blowing. It is everything that a good novel should be. This is historical fiction. It's gothic horror. And all of these elements of horror and gothic and mystery and intrigue and all of these are like so seamlessly done that it's just flawless. So there are two parallel timelines that run. One is 1903, where in a wrecked ship, a mother with a young girl is found. The mother is in coma and the girl is taken to an asylum. Then we have 1993, where there is this young boy, Tyler, who's sent to a boarding school called All Hallows. Now, how are these timelines connected? How are these kids connected? And, what's the story exactly? And why does this book keep you to the edge of your seat all through? And then I read a non-fiction book, more like a self-help, personal development kind of a guidebook, which was called Model Mentor, which is written by Gaurav Vashish, who is an Indian author. He is a fashion photographer, and he is an officer in the Indian Army. He has written this book, and it's quite a brilliantly done handbook, and it's for everybody who wants to make a successful career in fashion modeling. So this is a guidebook, and when I say that, it's got like the A to Z of fashion modeling, photography, everything that basically the fashion career requires. And this happens to be the one-of-a-kind book on the topic. So when I read this book, I felt that it's not just aimed at fashion models, but the details shared here, and all the case studies and all the information that's in here, all the research that's done and the information and stuff, all of this is going to be helpful to anyone, because these details are kind of quite relevant in real life. Next up is How to Become a People Magnet by Mark Kicklaw. And this book is again non-fiction, and it shares a lot of details on how you connect with people successfully, and how you make networks, and how you basically build relationships, and how you make yourself so indispensable that people want to be with you, people want to work with you, and people cannot spend a day without you. So there are all of these bits of information here in the book, which are pretty useful in real life. I want to talk about another book which took me back to World War II, and this is Germany We Are Back in, guys, at about the time when Hitler is executing Jews, putting them in the detention camps, and it's the same frenzy. And this book takes us back there, back to that time of the Holocaust. And this is the story of Lily and Heinrich, or is it Heinrich? I kind of don't know how to bad with proper names at times. So, but it's a story of two people who are very much in love. It's by chance that they got together and they are inseparable. And the real story starts when Lily comes to know that Heinrich is probably harboring a secret that she doesn't know about. And right at the cusp of the time when they are um, about to get serious about the relationship, Heinrich disappears and Lily doesn't know where he is, whether he's alive or not alive. And she has to carry on with life. And it's kind of the test of love in difficult times, in times when war is looming over your head. It's not an easy place to be, and that's how the love of these two people is going to get tested. What happens eventually, whether they meet, whether they end up together, whether they are separated forever, but that's something you'll come to know once you read this book. I found this book absolutely mind-blowing. If I could, I would give it 6 stars, but it's definitely 5 stars for me. It's a book that I know that I'm going to read again sometime in the future. It's called The German Dressmaker by Susan Shalev. The Housemate is the story of Millie, who is a young woman. She's just out of jail and she's living out of a car, and she's got no money and is in desperate need of a job. And just then, Nina Winchester, who's like the Winchesters are basically a well-to-do family. They're quite renowned and they're quite successful and stuff like that, the couple and the kids. So when Nina Winchester calls her and offers her a job, and she takes up the job, the only thing is that Millie has to live off an attic room, and which is all surrounded by walls. The room doesn't even have a window. But that's not the biggest trouble. The trouble begins when she starts to get attracted to Nina's husband Andrew, and she can hardly bear her tantrum throwing child. And eventually, as the story progresses, there's a lot of twists and turns, and then there are a lot of curveballs that's coming your way that you won't see when they do. And that kind of keeps you going through the plot. And the ending is quite unpredictable. I mean, I definitely didn't see it coming, but when it did, I was like, okay, nothing new. But it did keep me engaged, however. Next, I'm going to talk about a memoir, which was totally moving. And I read this book. I had never planned on reading it, but then, somehow these displacement and dislocation novels, where you're forced to migrate from one place to another, those are kind of heart-wrenching tales. And there's always something to learn and understand about, either an organization or a country or a particular democracy there. So these kind of books do lure me in. The one that I read was A River in Darkness, which was written by Masaji Ishikawa. It was written in Japanese and translated in English. I read the English version, of course. And this book recounts his life, growing up in Japan and then, being dislocated to North Korea. And from there, after 36 years, coming back to Japan, his own country. So this book is a very moving account of his stay in these different countries, not knowing where you actually belong, and being treated like an outsider everywhere you go. It's not easy to live in such kind of circumstances, and it's kind of his life. It is Ishikawa's life. So I read this book and found it quite interesting. I'm sure that I'm going to read a lot of other books on stories of Japanese people living in North Korea and stuff like that. So this was River in Darkness by Masaji Ishikawa. And now we come to the last book on the list, which is Raat Pashweere Ki by Gulzar, and this is a collection of his choicest poems, and these are written in Hindi. I'm not sure if there is a translated version available, but if you do read Hindi literature, you can try and get your hands on it. It's available on Amazon. This was a gift from a friend, so I read it, and I normally tend to enjoy Gulzar's poems, and these were equally good. The books that I really wanted to talk about. I hope you've stayed with me right till the end and you watched the video. And I've already shared the links for all of these books in the description box. Go ahead, grab your copies, read the books. I hope you like them. I'll see you soon again in the next video. Until then, be reading, be inspiring. Goodbye.